So we're going to talk now through an example of how I could possibly use digital learning to develop literacy in English. We've chosen an example from BBC Bite Size Word Waves, and this is a little story called My Doggy, by J.K. Annand, and it's on BBC Bite Size Word Waves. I really love this website. I think it works really well. It's really quite interactive for children, and the version that we've chosen today, the text we've chosen, is actually in Scots, so it's a good example for there. So if George wouldn't mind taking us into the demonstration, we can have a look at what the site actually looks like.
My Doggy by J.K. Annand. My wee doggy does lots of tricks.
Okay,
Fetches the paper.
So the animation that runs alongside the story is really good to help children to understand that the poem as it's being read aloud, and there's lots of sound effects as they go through as well that really enhance the story for the children.
Chases all the crows that steal the hen's feed. Loups through a gourd. Kids he's deed.
So the second option is read, where you can actually have a look at the animation, but it highlights keywords from the story as you go along, which is really good for vocabulary and beginning to introduce text to the story as well. So that's for read. And then the third option that we have, if we just scroll down. So the next option is called Share, and it features more storytelling and interaction, and this can really help children to explore pace and gesture as the story is told aloud. So now George is going to demonstrate the last option on the page, which is actually the PDF format, which allows you to interact a little bit more with the text.
So I've opened My Wee Doggy in PDF format, and again I'm using a touchscreen device, so I can add digital link straight to the screen here. So if I scroll down to a page here, what I could do is add my own words. I could draw it on the screen and say he is begging for food, and I can also add my own words or ideas, including rhyme, or I can highlight words that might be unfamiliar to me. Now I can't use the highlight function with the text here, you see, but what I can do is use the draw button to circle or highlight, underline or outline words that I think are unfamiliar to me, and I could then go and find out that means it brings something to its owner. So I can add my own words and responses there, and I could also even use it to draw a response, which can be really good for younger learners. So we could draw the dog eating a bone there, so we can add our own thoughts and ideas using the inking tools on the PDF. We've also covered inking to PDFs in OneNote using Office 365 and another video on the playlist, so you could always save the PDF, load it into OneNote and use some of the tools within OneNote such as voice recording to add even more of your own ideas in there. I could replicate the word waves. Idea is I'm using Word on my Windows desktop here, so not Word Online in Office 365, but the downloadable version on my Windows desktop, but I can go up to the draw option here. I can select my pen, and you can see there's lots of different colours and effects there, so I can simply write on my screen the same sort of looping pattern that we saw in word waves. So I could talk to that just like in the word waves, or again I've got the within the pen, and also within the pen I've got some different ink colours, which again might be particularly appealing to some learners. So again, I can practice that looping pattern just like in word waves, but with the ink replay button it will replay the strokes that I did, so I could watch those over and over, and I've made my own little animation. But what I think as well, you'll see it goes quite quickly, but I can take it through a bit at a time, so I can go back and re-watch a little bit slower if that's any use. So a really simple but effective way to create your own version of the word waves. And if I was using my iPad, again using Word, so this is just simply Microsoft Word on my iPad. If I go up to the top right corner, and with this option here I can use screen recording. Won't record at the moment because I'm sharing my screen for this demo, but I could use screen record to capture my screen, go up to draw, and again with the ink I can draw some sort of patterns like I might see on the word waves. I could even draw the wee doggy. And because I've recorded that on my iPad, I would be able to watch back the screen recording that I've just done. So really useful to be able to use some of those apps.
So now that we had a little look at what's available on that Word Waves website, we're going to have a little think about some of the learning that we can develop from that. And the first examples that I've got here on the page are for early level. And example one is about developing vocabulary as children discover and use new words and phrases. So I've popped the experience and outcome there on the left. And you could help children to explore the key words on each page, highlighting them in the text and helping to develop their understanding. You can help them by playing back unfamiliar words, using context clues to help us to work out what they mean. And then finally, they could even add their own keywords to describe the illustrations and the events on each page, building the story together. The second example is focused on exploring and playing with the patterns and signs of language, and that's where the word wave really comes into its own. So very young children might really enjoy actually just holding their finger over the word wave as it moves forward and tracing the sounds as they're spoken. You can also listen back to that Scots language being spoken aloud, which is great for it to bring it to life for young children. They could create their own voice recording or film clip of the poems and rhymes. They could highlight the words on the screen, noticing where the rhyming words are in the text, so really drawing their attention to the fact that they're often at the end of the line. Children could develop their own wave animation using drawing tools, children's illustrations. You could use some string painting, for instance, string collage, take some photographs and put this together to create an animation. Or you might want to use apps such as Chatterpix or Sock Puppets. And now George is going to demonstrate a word drawing example of this.
And also what I can do with the iPad is by holding in the home and the power button, I'm able to capture an image from the screen. What I'm then going to do is use an app called Chatterpix, you can see here on the screen, and I can start by using a photo I've already got. So I've just captured a picture of the wee doggy. When I put the doggy on screen, I go up to next in the top right corner, and just draw a wee line where the dog's mouth is, where I want it to animate the speech. Press the microphone. Hello, I'm a wee doggy and I'm not a froggy. So I've even done some rhyming there, and now all I need to do is press the play button. Hello, I'm a wee doggy and I'm not a froggy. And I've created my own animation in a matter of moments. Can then go up to next. I can play with some different filters that again learners love to explore, and then finally I can save that into my camera roll, and I'm then able to go back and view it in my camera roll, or if you're using iPads in the class, airdrop it by swiping from the top right corner and using this icon here to airdrop, and I can send that to the teacher's iPad to be handed in for assessment. So that is using Chatterpix.
Yep, that's great. So now we're going to think about how this could work for first level. So I've chosen some experiences and outcomes for first level. The first example is about making our writing attractive for the reader, combining words, images, etc. The children at first level could create their own word wave using drawing tools, such as the ones that George has just shown us. They could use apps. They could insert their own sound effects, perhaps using the BBC Sound Effect Archive. They could insert images, illustrations, or perhaps even use a green screen. So there's lots of different options there for children to create their own word wave. The second example, I've combined two experiences and outcomes, and it's about identifying the purpose, keywords, and main ideas of a text. Last session we talked about the digital tools which can help children to do this by making notes under given headings. So children could make notes directly onto the screen, and these could be under headings perhaps using Jamboard or OneNote. They could highlight those keywords, examples of rhyme, etc. And then thinking back to the Alex Quigley strategies to support reading on screen from last session, we could highlight and summarise parts of the story to help children to develop a deep understanding. They could also look at unfamiliar vocabulary. So George showed us how to use Immersive Reader for this, or we could use the dictionary tool from Word to help children with this as well. And children could use their own notes, perhaps to create the new text, perhaps adding an additional page to the book would be another idea.